Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to our study of life under the sun. Where Kohat is taking us on a nice ride. Yeah, I like to see chapter 7 and 8 a bit like if Kohelet is taking us on a nice joyride throughout the country, and he's sharing his wisdom as we're moving along. He's telling us things like, do not go to the house of feasting, but the house of mourning. That's how you'll learn. Interesting. When it comes to government, submit. He's too powerful. Okay. But that's when he hits the brakes. And our head hits the dashboard. Because he tells us, all of this means nothing because we're going to die. Boing. But he's not finished. Because he then turns to us, reminds us this world is sin sick. Evil people do whatever they want sometimes, and nobody's stopping them. Not even God. But you know what? Trust God. Fear Him. But then he gets out of the car, calls us with him, points to the sky and says there's something greater than this sun we are under. Yet as he finishes chapter 8, he will be very God-focused, bringing us back to the one who is and was and always will be. So don't let anybody tell you that this book is not God-focused. It is. But before he gets to God, he wants to keep troubling us, because that's the way he works. He's going to say this. There is a vanity that takes place on earth, that there are righteous people to whom it happens according to the deeds of the wicked, and there are wicked people to whom it happens according to the deeds of the righteous. I said that this also is vanity. This notion, this twisted reality, it's not the first time he's spoken about it. I would say it's not the first time you see it in scripture even. The notion that righteous people, faithful to God, suffer as if they were evil, and vice versa. The whole book of Job is that. A man who was righteous before the eyes of God, who suffers as if he was evil. To the point that even his friends say, no, but clearly you must have sinned badly to suffer like you are. You lost your kids, your wife disowned you, and now you're suffering in pain. Clearly you're evil. Because it's so twisted. This very notion makes no sense. That's why God speaks of it as something that's vain, haval, frustrating. It just can't be grasped. How is this possible with a good God who rules? And that's the point. He's going to do that, leave us kind of frustrated, and then point to the true answer of it all, which of course is God. We'll start with this first part of the verse to make sense of it together. And I commanded joy, for man has nothing better under the sun but to eat and drink and be joyful. Now, at this point, I would remind you that Kohelet is not saying this out of a vacuum. He's been building something, explaining and defining these words, these terms, these ideas. Over and over again, he's been showing us this is not just eat and drink for tomorrow we die, right? Get as much out of life as you can. No, he's not. No, we've seen that those who get to eat, drink, and enjoy it, by the way, don't miss the repetition here, right? Joy. Better here is literally enjoyment and joyful. 3 ways. Repetition. To point the fact that you enjoy these things, that's a gift from God. We've seen that since chapter 2. We saw Mr. Mega Bless, who had many kids, lived over 2,000 years old, had everything he could wish, and still felt empty because God did not give him this joy that goes with it. So it's not just about eating and drinking, it's that joy, that contentment that is a gift of the Spirit, gift of God. Given to this person, whoever they may be. God has given it to them. So focus on what God does. He then continues. He says, for this will go with him in his toil through the days of his life that God has given him under the sun. I said, this is not just the life God has given him. It's the capacity to enjoy in the heartache. Like he says here, right? Toil. That's the word I'm looking for. Is toil. Toil like being treated as a malefactor, a bad guy, even though you're a good guy. Suffering unjustly, even though you are righteous. That kind of toil. And to be able to find contentment, find enjoyment. I mean, who more in the New Testament has suffered unjustly than Paul? Beaten, whipped, rejected, tried to kill him. And yet he found contentment though. He found that God's grace is sufficient. Even to the point that he rejoiced and gloried in his suffering because he got even more of God's grace. That's an Old Testament version of the same idea. God given to those who are his, even in the mix of toil and difficulty, to be able to enjoy this life. And that's when God decides to point out everybody out, all the neighbors around this road. Yeah, he's going to point all around him and say this. When I applied my heart to know wisdom and to see the business that is done on earth, how neither day nor night do one's eyes see sleep. We understand this language. We've seen it before, right? He applied his heart. He went to know wisdom. He went to see or consider, understand. Triple repetition again. Parallelism again. Trying to really explain how he's really analyzed something. He's analyzed the efforts of people. Efforts to the point of not sleeping anymore. But efforts for what? To understand what? And don't miss this little comma here. That's the word. Comma. And there's a reason to put it there in the translation. Because it's clearly continuing. What's keeping them awake, all these neighbors, is this. Then I saw all the work of God, that man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun. However much man may toil in seeking, he will not find it out. Even though a wise man claims to know, he cannot find it out. More repetition, right? More repetition, first of all, on this notion that they're putting all these efforts in seeking what? God's work. Trying to make sense of life. Of who is this God and why are we here? That's why they're keeping themselves awake. That's what's keeping them from sleep. They want to make sense of life. Isn't that what part of science is all about? Science is to explain how things work, but there's also a sense of why does it work? Why is it like this? Why are we here? All the philosophies and even religions that love philosophy, like Hindu and Buddhists, they're all trying to make sense of life, trying to grasp something about what it's all about. And yet, as he keeps repeating, they can't find out. They can't find out. They can't find out. Triple repetition. They will never get it. Even if they claim they do, they don't. Because no man-made religion, philosophy, or even science can make sense of this God and what he did. Can fill up the Havel of reality. This kind of takes us back to chapter 3. Remember chapter 3. All focus on the sovereignty of God. A time for all things. Yet God does all of this to leave us kind of empty. Not making sense of it all. Why does it work like this? Why is this happening? He put it in us to seek, but not the answer to find, because he's the answer itself. He's the one who reveals himself. And he's done it in scripture though. Never forget that. He has revealed who he is through the word, through the Bible. But this Bible points to the word made flesh, Jesus. It's all about him. He is the great revealer of the Father, as he said himself. So he's the key, the cipher, if you will, that makes the whole Bible and the revelation of God make sense. See, that's why even religions based on the Bible, Muslims, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't get it. They're trying to make sense of who God is and what he said here, but they can't because they missed the cipher, the key, which is the King Jesus, the great revealer. But we have that. We have those who taste and enjoy because God has revealed the Son to us. Because we have grasped the cross and are believers. Through Christ, we know the Father, and therefore life makes sense to us. So first, we need to remember that. That's the whole point of life. It's not about the things. How much can I drink or eat? It's about the God who gives me the ability to just enjoy in His fellowship. But we also understand that He's the answer to everything else. All the questions of life. There are a lot of Christian programs out there trying to fix the world, do good, help people, which is good, yes. But that's not the point of it. That's the main focus, though. It's all about revealing Christ, because that's what they need. We can't lose track of that. We can't miss that all these people, all these neighbors who are staying awake all night trying to make sense of life, they don't need more food or help or whatever. They need Christ. They need to know God through Christ. So let's keep that focus in mind, brothers and sisters. On that note, be blessed.